Hello and welcome into the latest live stream. My name is Kerry Holzman and we're about to get this thing started. Let me click that button right there. Let's make sure everybody in the chat can see and hear me okay. Douglas says audio video good. Thank you, Douglas. Sorry we're running a little late today, but those darn customers keep getting in the way of having fun. All right, well, today we're going to continue to talk about uninterruptible power supplies and how they work and what's necessary, what isn't necessary. And we're going to start by just showing you the old UPS system from 4, 5, or 6 years ago. However, I don't know, that's why it's so important you mark a UPS with a label with the month and year so you have an idea of how old it is. They need to be replaced regardless if they're used or not used. Regardless if they're plugged in the wall or they're stuck in a brand new box in a closet, the batteries go bad regardless if it's literally taken out of the box or not. The battery will need to be replaced after about 4 or 5 years. I say 4 years because I tend to lean on the side of caution. If the idea is to save your work in a power outage, to be able to have just a few seconds to save your work and exit the computer and shut it down without damaging Windows, then it's not a corner you want to cut with a UPS. You don't want to extend its life beyond 4 years, or you might as well not have one. And so to demonstrate that, I've already shown you guys with the UPS here that it appears to work fine, but when we actually went and hooked it up to Thready over here, it had about 40 seconds of battery life left in it, even though there was no indication on the front of it that that anything was wrong. And that's just, it comes with age. That's all that is. So this is a modern unit made by the same company. It's not as powerful, so that's part of the reason why it's smaller. This is a, I think this is 1,000, and this one is a 1350. Yeah, this is 1,000 volt amps, and this is a what they call 1350 AVR. I think the total output is 600 watts on the 1,000. But the bottom line is, the newer units, rather than just replacing batteries in a monster like this, if you replace the entire unit, you get something smaller, lighter, and just as, if not more powerful, as technology continues to evolve. So that being said, the question is, do you have to install any software with a UPS? Or does Windows automatically recognize it? And how much battery life can you expect to get out of a brand new, properly working UPS? We're going to find the answers to those questions right now. In the meantime, before we get started, let me address any potential questions about anything in the chat. Take a moment to say hello to everybody in the chat. And happy birthday to one of the moderators in the chat, Catherine Anna Hauserman. So happy birthday to you, Catherine. And oh, I see Gear is in the chat room from Norway. Patrick Rusaw is joining us. Malcolm Maxwell is joining us. Alan Bedgood asks if I got his letter. Yes, I got your letter Saturday. Yeah, thank you for sending that. Completely forgot. Glad you asked. And Dennis and Anders Jorgensen and Jacob Alvarez, all moderators in the chat. We have lots and lots of moderators in the chat because we are a community here. And if you don't wish to become a contributing member of the community, or rather, you don't have to contribute, but if you try to disrupt this process, make sure that the moderators don't allow you to distract away from the entertainment of others. Well, you might think it's humorous or entertaining to poison the well of a community. The community doesn't find it just as funny, and so you will be dealt with accordingly. If you're here to cause trouble, you're not going to be here very long. So what is a UPS? Well, UPS is short for an uninterruptible power supply. And its job, it's just basically a battery so that if you suffer a power outage or a power spike, it acts as a surge protector and it provides you power Well, let's say right now while I'm broadcasting, I lose power. Then obviously I'm going to go offline unless I have a battery backup or a UPS on my cable modem and router. My camera's operating on battery, so that's not going to be impacted if I lose power or not. And if I have a UPS on my computer and monitor, then I would still theoretically be broadcasting even though power could be completely out. However, the UPS is a portable, disposable design that's intended to provide you with a minimum amount of power, designed that you can save whatever you're working on and then close out any open applications, browser windows, etc., and then properly shut down the computer. That's its sole purpose. It is not designed for you to just sit there and surf and render videos as though the power wasn't out. For that, you need a generator. That's a whole different ball of wax. So this is just your emergency backup where you don't lose whatever you're working on in case of an unexpected power outage or brownout. It also provides surge protection, and it basically works like any other surge protector. You plug it into the wall, and then you plug whatever you want surge protected onto one side, and you plug whatever you want surge protected and battery protected into the other side. There's two sides. You don't want to plug anything into the battery side that isn't absolutely necessary. You don't need to plug in, for example, an electric stapler to the battery side, or a printer, or a scanner. These are not emergency items. It will eat up your battery faster, and you will have less time, defeating the whole purpose of having it. The only thing you want on the battery side of a battery backup or a UPS, uninterruptible power supply, is the absolute bare necessity to save whatever you're working on and properly shut the computer down. Because if the computer is, for example, in the middle of a Windows update and you lose power, you might have to reformat the hard drive and start over again. So the battery backup allows you to buy you some time to neatly shut things down. I will say, however, if it's an older computer doing an update, there may not be enough power in any battery in the world to let you finish that if it's going to take 2 hours. Most Windows updates don't take that long, but there's a number of variables to that. And if Windows were to be shut down during an update, it is quite possible that the system could be damaged, requiring a complete wipe and reinstall of the operating system. And we want to avoid that as much as possible. Also, for businesses that are paying employees by the hour for work, they don't want to pay those employees again to do the same work they've already done, but it didn't get saved because of a power outage, multiplied times however many employees you have. So if you're a big corporation, you've got 5,000 employees, and let's say 4,200 of them lost work, and even if power went out for 5 minutes or 5 seconds, that work is gone. It's gone. So the more employees you have, the bigger cost concern this is. Also, the type of work that you do, how hard it is. Is it easy to recreate, or are you writing a novel that you'll never rewrite exactly the same again? So how you prioritize, it's entirely up to you and your situation. And I'm here to explain that. That's what I'm doing here today. And I want to show you realistically what a brand new UPS can perform, how it will perform on a relatively powerful Hungry computer. Now, the more you have the computer do, as we demonstrated with the kilowatt device, the more power it eats. The more power it eats, the faster it's going to kill that battery. So it's not intended, once again, a UPS is not intended for you to continue to work during a power outage. That's what a generator's for. A UPS is to say, hey, power's out, save your work, close down your apps, and shut down your computer. Now, these UPSs do come with a USB cable and software you can download, so if the computer is unattended or you don't know what to do, it will all happen automatically. What's interesting is I've hooked one of these up to a Synology network attached storage device, and there's no software to download from CyberPower, the company that makes this unit. But instead, Synology has its own software built into it. So when you plug in the USB cable from the UPS, it says, oh, I see you've got a CyberPower UPS. Do you want to activate UPS monitoring? And I click yes, and it says, how long do you want it to be on? And it's all defaulted to until the battery gets low. And a NAS doesn't really use very much power, so I imagine the battery life on this very same unit on a NAS would be 3 to 4 times what it's going to be on a desktop. Now, depending on what the model of the desktop is, If you've overclocked the computer, clearly it's going to consume more power. That's going to reduce your battery life. So there's a number of variables here, but I am just curious to set up a bare minimum scenario to give us just a concept or an idea of what we can expect in a best case scenario. So let me get some video hooked up here. Once again, you guys, you're going to be my computer monitor. We're going to plug the old Thready here, well, it's not old Thready, it's new Thready, into the video capture card so you guys can be my monitor. And we won't install any software. We're going to just see what happens with the bare minimum by just plugging it in and letting Windows 10 load drivers automatically and let it run Windows 10 services. And let's see what it does. Let's go to, yeah, we'll plug that in over here. And then I have to plug the computer into the back of the UPS. Remember, a UPS has two sides to plug it in. You have the surge only protection, and then you have the surge and battery backup protection. Think about what you're plugging into what side. You absolutely want only what's absolutely necessary, bare minimum. If you have a VoIP system, you're going to want your phone system up if you're in the middle of a phone call. If you have a router and a modem, a switch, any networking stuff, you definitely want that in its own separate UPS. A server, its own separate UPS. So that way, everybody has time to finish the phone call, to say, okay, we just lost power, let me call you back. It's very professional. This is mostly for use in businesses. Very few home users ever buy these. They are relatively inexpensive now, so it's not like a home user can't buy one, but most home users won't spend $150 if they don't have to for their computer. They don't do work that's that important. It doesn't guarantee there won't be any damage to the computer, but it reduces the likelihood that it's going to happen. There's no surge protector that can protect you from every kind of surge. So this is just putting the statistics in your favor, really nothing more. So the switch is on here, and let me get this fired up. And I got to figure out which port I just plugged into because now I don't know. I have to find it. Let me look at, this one says PC capture. And I'm going to just turn my camera off for a second so I can figure this out. It's not that one. There it is. Okay. And then I can turn my camera back on and I can put myself right over here. We'll go over here. All right, so you can see and hear me, and you can see the desktop. And this is the Threadripper system that we built. All the specs for that are in the Threadripper video. And I'm going to take the USB cable here that's off the back of the, and this has never been done before. I have no idea. I've never even done this, so I don't even know what's going to happen. And I'm just going to take the USB cable, plug it into any available USB port, and give it a second to recognize that and load the driver automatically. As I mentioned, there is software we can download from the manufacturer that gives us a little bit more information about the status of it, more control over what we want it to do, to hibernate, or if we want it to power off. But Windows should have all this built into a bare minimum. Microsoft Windows often gives you very basic tools that for some people, people that aren't power users or really nerdy kind of people or very demanding technical users may not see a difference between WordPad and Word. They may not see a difference between disk management utilities and actual disk management utilities. So Microsoft gives you the bare minimum, and for many people that's all they need. So with using the bare minimum, I want to find out what would happen if we just cut power. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this window a little bit bigger because I can. And I'm just going to put myself right here. And then I'm going to get a little stopwatch out so we can figure this out. And I'm going to set that just like so. Now plugged in right here where I'm standing, this is where it's the UPS is plugged into the wall and Thready is plugged into the UPS. Now we're not doing anything with Thready. Thready's probably consuming about 100 watts of power right now, which is an absolute best case scenario. We're not rendering any video, we're not working on any files. most business people would be in Quicken or QuickBooks or Word or Excel or multiple browser tabs, which still is pretty much going to be in your 100-watt range on an equivalent system. Obviously, if if you are doing a heavy task or if you're overclocking, the only way you're going to know how much battery life is to do what we call a fire drill. And a fire drill is what we're doing right now. We're going to find out realistically what to expect from this unit in a best case scenario. So, I'm going to pull the plug and start the timer. Okay, here goes the plug, and we'll see if Thready immediately turns off. Here we go. It's unplugged. So the unit says 49 minutes remaining. It's bouncing around between 48 and 50 right now. And let me just see if I can zoom you in on that. Just a second here. That's where we're at. Brand new unit. This is, I believe, it's beeping twice, and that's letting you know that it's on battery power right now. That's to alert the user if there's no on-screen notification. As you can see, Windows hasn't told us anything. You can see the Windows screen as I see it. And it's suggesting it'd be about 40 minutes of battery life on this unit, which is the 1000 volt amp CyberPower AVR unit. We can go through a number of different displays. We can see there's 0 volts coming in from the wall. Up here is our battery capacity. It's all at 5 bars. This is a brand new unit. It's never been used before. We can mute the alarm, I guess. That's what we can do. We're outputting 120 volts. And that's at 60 hertz. Our output is 0.084 kilowatt. .9 amps is the output. And around the wheel goes. And then we're back to our estimated time remaining. The battery is fully charged. This is a best case scenario. Remember I said best case scenario? How would you define a best case scenario? Because here's how I define it. Brand new unit, it's not old, it's not aged, it's fully charged, and the computer is idling at the desktop, which means it is the best case for the longest possible battery life. So if I've missed a step, if the scenario could somehow be better than that or optimal than that, please let me know if there's anything I've missed. If the computer is asleep or hibernated, it is effectively, well, if it's asleep, it's still going to be, the operating system's still going to be running. So the UPS is still going to be useful. However, a computer that's powered off while it's in sleep mode doesn't have the same risk of a computer that is in the middle of reading or writing, nor does it have the opportunity of losing really any data in sleep mode. So if you guys have any questions about the UPS, you can look up the link in the video description and you can read about all the technical details. We try to keep these videos user-friendly, and I don't want the technically minded to overrun this channel, which is discouraging to anybody who wants to learn this and thinks it's over their head. I want to show how easy this stuff is. And for those of you who want a more technical detail, That's what the links are for. And of course, there's other YouTube channels that will be more than happy to get into that level. There just are not enough YouTube channels, in my opinion, for average, ordinary folks to explain what this stuff is on a basic level and understand why you would want it or why you would not want it, how much it would cost, and what you would expect from it. So you can determine if it's right for you, and if nothing else, know what the heck people are talking about that are technical. But this, and I must emphasize this, this is not a channel for techs. If you're a tech looking for technical information, this is not a channel for you. This is a channel for novices. This is for people who are maybe thinking of wanting to become a tech, or I've always looked for basic explanations that no technician's ever been able to explain to them in a language that they could understand. So I want to emphasize that's what this channel has always been, with a few exceptions. I try not to alienate anybody, but the emphasis is on the novice. It's on the average, ordinary computer user. Anybody who owns a business with employees will have a staff of IT folks that are going to install these if they're necessary and maintain this for the business. So this is really just for everyday, ordinary folks who've never seen one of these, or they've heard of them, but they don't know what they do. They don't know what they cost. They don't know if they should have one, or why they should have one, or how long they should last. That's what we're doing here today. So we've already gone over 5 minutes. Now, by now, that should have been plenty of time to finish any Windows updates. It should have been enough time to save any files, any folders, and properly shut the computer down. Our goal is not to run the battery to zero under normal operating circumstances. We're only doing that now just to see what it's possible, just to see how much battery life is possible to power one computer. Remember, there's no monitor hooked up to this. So it's not really a fair test, because ordinary use will have a monitor plugged into it. So we're not draining quite the amount of power. So again, this is a very optimal situation. Now, every computer and how it's used is going to vary on its power consumption. It takes us back to why we talked about the kilowatt earlier. If this were a server, or it had multiple mechanical drives, RAID arrays, multiple video cards, if you were in the middle of playing a game, you know, things like that, it's just supposed to get you enough power to get you back out to the desktop, all the applications closed properly, and have the system properly shut down. And if you want to make sure you're protected from any surges through the power, during the power outage that you're suffering, unplug the system from the mains, unplug it from your power, and wait until power comes back on for a good, I'd say at least 5 to 10 minutes before you plug it back in again. Because I've experienced, at least here in Arizona, where the power goes out and then it goes out, it comes right back on, and it goes out again. And that's where the damage happens. So always be aware that when power initially comes back on after a power outage, it is often not stable during the first couple minutes. And the only way you can know is to wait. If you're going to insist on keeping it plugged in, then you're taking a risk that sort of takes away the whole point of having the UPS. The UPS is there as a safety net for you. It will offer you better protection than not having any UPS at all. But if you are available when the power goes out, then you should go ahead and unplug the computer from power until power comes back on and stays on for a couple of minutes. If you want to be cautious, and if you have a lot of investment in your equipment, then that's the best thing you can do for the odds to be in your favor that you will suffer no software or hardware damage. So, well, we're waiting for this. We're on 8 minutes, and still says we've got about 32 minutes. That's pretty good. It said we had about 40 minutes 8 minutes ago, so it seems to be pretty accurate on on the time displayed. But I will say, these units, next year, if I run the same test on the same unit, it won't get this much battery life. And the year after that, it'll continue to degrade, whether I use it or I don't use it, whether it's plugged in or not plugged in. The battery will continue to degrade, and you may not realize 4 or 5 years down the road, because the screen all looks the same, but then you have a power outage and you only have 40 seconds and it's not enough time, and you should have replaced the unit. You may not always be told. You must not trust the technology. You must not trust any technology unless it doesn't matter to you. But if it doesn't matter to you, why do you have it? So the rule for my clients is every 4 years these get replaced. Every 4 years. And in my opinion, if that's what businesses require, then that's what you should require too. Now, once again, keeping in mind, if we had monitors, a monitor or two monitors or anything else plugged into the UPS, this is going to impact our battery life. I mean, we all know how batteries work, right? You know how a car battery works. You know, if you put batteries in a flashlight and you don't use the flashlight in a year, that batteries are probably going to be dead whether you use the flashlight or not. You know, if you leave the flashlight on for a half an hour, the batteries are probably going to be dead even if they were brand new batteries. You already know all this. They're batteries. The same rules apply to all batteries. So this is really simple stuff, folks. Really simple stuff. I think we're going to get 40 minutes out of it. I think that's what's going to happen. You definitely do not want to plug a laser printer in. You definitely don't want to plug in, like I say, a scanner, a label maker, anything like that. This has got to be absolute bare minimum emergency level power. So, are there any questions while we're watching the clock? And you will find when we get down to the nitty-gritty on the battery life, that beeping will become incessant. Is it safe to plug a power bar into it? It is a power bar. So the answer is no. It would be exceptionally foolish. You only want to plug into the back of the battery side what is absolutely critical. That's it. If you don't have enough plugs on the back, then you bought a UPS that's too small. Should you plug the UPS directly to the wall? Yes. Randall wants to know if my telephone/router is plugged into its own UPS, can I plug that UPS into a UPS that I can then plug my computer access plug into? You can, but you will be draining the battery in the first UPS at probably 75 times faster. So what you can do and what you should do are two different answers. Yes, you can, and no, you should not. Is there any way to check the battery health besides doing a fire drill? I will say it again. Never trust technology. Never. That will lead you to a path of disappointment and being upset. The only way you can have an accurate idea of how long the battery will last is to fire drill it, and depending on how important it is to you. If you can't be bothered, it obviously isn't something you're too worried about, so maybe you should reconsider whether or not you need a UPS, or if you just feel like, well, it's giving me better odds, I don't need the best odds. That's your decision. If you believe software, if you believe what software tells you, that's your first mistake. Never believe what software tells you. Never, ever, on anything. Don't believe the temperature reporting that on your refrigerator compared to actually checking the temperature with a temperature gauge. Never, ever, ever believe what you don't experience yourself, including the information that you receive on the internet and YouTube videos. If you doubt something, try it and see. It will cost you nothing but your time. If you can't be bothered, well, then you've answered your own question. Have you ever witnessed SSD damage from a power loss? I've never seen an SSD fail yet. Haven't seen one. Any of the SSDs that I've installed, I have seen failed SSDs from other people, but every SSD I have ever installed is still working to this day. There's a little conversation in the chat. I'm going to interrupt. Moderators, do not moderate each other and argue with each other. Gear, you used a 4-letter word, and we try to keep it family friendly without curse or swear words. So please avoid using that language. We do want to be, friendly for children to watch our channels and educate themselves. And we don't want their parents going, "What are you watching?" and seeing language in a chat room that a young child could be influenced by. So please keep that in mind. That's all. That's all Douglas was trying to say. And of course, it doesn't just go for moderators, it goes for everybody. On occasion, I have done some videos that were intended for adult audiences, but they're few and far between. For the most part, this is the rule. Remember, we want to encourage children to learn this, and we want to encourage their parents to know that this is a safe place for everybody. So it looks like we're getting less than 40 minutes. This is why you can't trust the technology. How many times have you installed a piece of software that said, or downloaded something, and it said 3 minutes remaining, and it took more or less than the estimated time? You must not trust technology if you want to be leading that technology, if you want to be in control. If you want the technology to control you, you're at the wrong channel. Technology is meant to be controlled by humans, not the other way around, but people become more and more dependent on it every day. As it makes our life easier, it also cripples us. So you need to know properly what to expect so that you will not be a victim other than your own choices. The reason why we're being able to go so long on this battery is we're not realistically testing it with monitors attached to it in the way that ordinary folks normally do. And remember that if this only gave us 3 minutes of battery life now, what would that battery life be a year from now? You want to have a brand new unit giving you tons and tons of overhead. The more overhead you have, the longer this will last before you have to replace it. Patrick says, I bet a CRT monitor would drain it fast. Yes, Patrick, I believe you're right, especially like a 17 or 21-inch CRT. Probably drain that sucker really, really quick. Yeah, for sure. That beeping is getting on my nerves, June Kim says. It's intended to. It is supposed to get on your nerves. That's its purpose. It's to say, hey, stop what you're doing and pay attention to me. Something very critical is happening right now. And if you didn't like it and you're not responding to it, then why do you have me? It is supposed to be the most irritating thing in the world, second to a smoke alarm. That's its purpose. So remember, we started out, it said there were 40 minutes remaining based on the power output. Power output hasn't really fluctuated very much because the computer is just sitting idle. It's not doing anything any differently, although just watching the kilowatt results from the previous video, you would see that the power doesn't normally fluctuate as Windows performs background tasks and whatnot. But not substantially so, but enough that the estimate is already off by about 6 minutes. 5 or 6 minutes. It was, in my opinion, the estimate shouldn't be so optimistic. I would rather have seen a 10-minute estimate and let it run for 30 than a 30-minute estimate and let it run for 10. You should invoke panic on behalf of the user. You should invoke a sense of urgency and priority and then give them a little extra. Sort of like how many people have you seen, or maybe you're one of them, driving their car when the fuel light is on, that they're running out of gas, the needle is on E. Companies on modern cars generally will give you at least a gallon or two beyond that point. Can anybody tell me what this is and why it says 25 minutes? Can anybody explain why this is here? Now, if you let this battery drain fully, don't expect it to be available for that full amount of time again until it's had 24 hours, and in general, and on average, a full 24 hours to recharge back to full capacity. So we have 6 minutes, 5 minutes remaining. Oh, and the reason the Windows desktop is up is I want you to see, without me touching anything, what the computer is going to do all on its own. Remember, we have not installed any software onto the UPS, or from the UPS onto Windows. We're just running the Windows services that auto-detected the USB cable coming out of the UPS into the Threadripper system that we previously built. Now the system went to sleep, so I have to wake it up. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it didn't go to sleep. It's actually powering down. So apparently when the UPS hits a certain time limit, it shuts the computer off. The system just went off all by itself, and you still see we have a little bit of battery life left. It didn't completely drain. And the alarm is still letting you know that there is no power. So we've got about 28 minutes out of that 40-minute estimate. And this is why you don't work other than what is absolutely necessary to save what you were doing and shut the computer down properly, so that you're not spending the next 3 or 4 days doing work you've already done or having the IT department come out and fix your system. And now I'm going to take the UPS here. We can stop this clock. And I'm going to plug it back into the wall, and let that battery start to charge again. You'll see we do have a battery life meter here. It shows 1 bar. Remember, before it showed 5 bars on this unit, and it went down to 1 bar in 40 seconds. So that's no means by which to measure how much time you've got on a UPS that's more than a couple years old. All right, and that's pretty much going to wrap up this stream, unless there's any other questions I can answer for you with regards to anything technically related. Brian, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that. Chris is saying good night from the UK. Thank you, Chris. I see Mitch Morrison's joined us in the chat. Thank you for the kind words, Mitch. I appreciate that. Does a UPS work as a surge protector? Yes, it does. If so, do you still need to use a surge protector? Well, why would you need to use a surge protector if a dinner fills you up, do you still need to eat dinner? I think you've answered your own question. If you're already full, why would you eat? No, if you have a surge protector, putting another surge protector into a surge protector isn't helping you at all. You're just wasting money. When are you doing the names? Well, I still, as you can see behind me, Thready here is still not done. I've been so busy. The naming ceremony might have to wait until I get back from vacation. Unfortunately, I don't know that there's going to be time between now and when I leave. So I'm going to try and get a couple of short videos in the chamber to fire off while I'm gone, just to keep some activity on the channel. And that's going to pull me away from doing more work on Thready as well. So things are very, very busy as I'm trying to get things wrapped up so I can just take, 10 days off for the first time in 5 years, 6 years. And please bear with me. Please understand. Ben says, thanks for the stream, very educational. Thank you, Ben. Christopher Ash also says, thanks for the stream and good night. Thanks, or Christoph. Thank you, Christoph. If the power failed, wouldn't the ISP network fail? Depends. My ISP is not located in the same city as me. So ISPs also generally have generators that keep them up and running. Yours may or may not be located in the same town or in the same power outage area and may or may not have generators. So the answer to your question is yes, sometimes no, and definitely maybe. I mean, have you ever used a cell phone during a power outage? What's powering the cell tower? Think about it. People asking technical questions about the UPS, please, please, please look at the links in the video description. You can pull up all the documentation to any number of UPSs and read all about the technical specs. I'm not getting into that today, and I prefer not to get into that ever, because I like to keep the channel open and unintimidating to average, ordinary folks who have computers, the vast majority of computer owners. And I'm going to really try to be more self-conscious of that. I've often been sort of steered, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, by technically minded folks, and in doing so, defeating the entire purpose of why I created this channel. If you're that technically minded, you know how to use Google. You know how to click on links. But for the rest of everybody, I want to let them know what the gist of this technology is, how it works, what to expect from it, what people are talking about when we talk about it, whether or not if it's something they really need, how would they know if they don't know what it is and what it does? So that's primarily the purpose of my channel overall. What software do you use to test hardware failure? I don't use software to test hardware failure. I mean, I'll use memtest 86 for testing RAM, but I don't trust it. I'll use Crystal Disk Info to test a hard drive, but I don't trust it. The only thing I trust is my own judgment. And no computer so far has evolved to equate to that. So the idea is you use the software to guide you, but all of the decision-making process is up to you. If you want to be told what to think and what to believe by a computer, you and I are two very different people. That's a world I don't want to live in. You must be a human being, and you must use the technology as tools to help guide you to the right decisions, not to give you the answers. You as a human being, that's your job. Otherwise, definitely shouldn't be diagnosing anybody's problems, in my opinion. Because then why would anybody need you? Is there a delay from when the power goes out to the switching of the UPS for power? There is on a generator, but not on a battery backup. Battery backups are instantaneous. Irving T joining us from France, saying good night. Good night, Irving. Thanks for joining today. Are you going to E3? I do not go to conventions or expos unless an entity pays me to go. It is pure, utter torture. I hate them with a passion. They are crowded, expensive. They make me claustrophobic and give me anxiety. I feel panicked and trapped. It is miserable. CES, E3, any expo, any show. Any place where there's a lot of people in a little tiny spot, everything's expensive, it's hard to park, it's hard to get a hotel room, it's very expensive, it's 13 to 18 hour days. No, I have to be paid to do that. That is not fun. Not for me. Colin says, thank you for the time you've given up tonight. Oh, that's from Colin. Thanks, Colin. Ooh, Lyle's got something going on over there. Listen to that. Would it charge up faster in the UK? I have no idea. I've never been to the UK. Probably ask somebody in the UK. Colin wants to know if I received the email he sent yet. I have no idea. I have over 100 well, there's over 1,000 messages that come in my inbox every day. 900 on average are just spam. If you sent something that didn't require a reply, I'm assuming I got it. I don't know. I'm not sure you guys have any concept, really, many of you, of how many messages I get daily on Facebook, email, messages left on YouTube, private messages left on YouTube. Plus the comments, plus my customers that call me. It sort of all blurs into just and I try to, anybody who's got a question, I try to respond to them as quickly as possible. Some people think it comes off as a bit rude, but the option is to either give you a short reply or to not reply at all. So if something is just saying, hey, I caught your stream and I enjoyed it, if that was a message, that there's just no response. I mean, I just move on to the next one. If somebody says, something that requires a response, you'll know if I read it, if you got your response. I don't know. I'm one person. Is there a use for an old UPS? You can change the batteries out in them. Are you sponsored by anyone? The viewers sponsor me. You guys watching the video, about 7% of my viewers sponsor me and the other 93% take, which is fine. I mean, that's what it's there for. But then there's, of that 93%, another 10 to 20% that complain after they've taken and given nothing back. So that's how the channel works. For now. NJP Vlogs and stuff says you've always been very prompt and courteous in your correspondence, and I appreciate that. What do I do with my mouse? I know I had it around here somewhere. Here it is. Patrick says you can use an old UPS to hold a door open. That's true. They're pretty heavy. Richard Leitner says, are the batteries replaceable and are they expensive? Will you address this? This was addressed in the previous video in the series. If you go back to the video library of my channel and just look back about 3 videos, there's a video titled, What is UPS? And that information is asked and answered in full and complete detail for you. Catherine says, I'm always very glad for all of your streams and info you provide. Well, Catherine, I'm always glad to see you in the chat. Nothing better than making content at my cost of time, effort, and equipment with the help and support of very few contributors to have it appreciated by viewers who are able to consume that content for free. That's why I do it. Just for people to appreciate it, or if they don't appreciate it, to move on to something else. Because of the sheer daily occurrences of abuse that I endure from people who consume my content for free, as if someone held a gun to their head and emptied their bank account and forced them to do it and refused a refund, I may have no choice but to start charging a very minimum amount for the videos, maybe something as little as 25 cents, just to get rid of those haters, because haters will not pay the 25 cents to complain. The only people ever who complain are the ones who contribute nothing financially, and I don't need them. So we're going down that road. It seems to be getting worse. For a while it seemed to have tapered off, and now it's picked back up again. I don't know why somebody would take time out of their day to write about how much they hate something that nobody asked them to watch and they paid nothing for, but it continues. And I'm encouraging, I've got a meeting with YouTube with regards to generating a channel reputation status, and that when somebody of a high channel reputation reports abuse, that it should be taken much more seriously, or with the gravity associated with the person who's filing the report. And also that a channel reputation should dictate as well how the AI of YouTube blindly and ignorantly enforces fraudulent complaints and abuse. So they seemed intrigued by that idea. It's not a new idea. eBay's been using it on sellers for a long time. And it's about time YouTube got on board and started giving people who are YouTube creators with a long history of quality, family-friendly content, and large viewerships. That's YouTube's bread and butter. YouTube needs to take care of those people, and they're not doing it. So there is a discussion lined up between YouTube and myself to look into this in more detail with what channel reputation is and why YouTube needs to start embracing it instead of it treating all channels as though they're equal. You can be a YouTube creator for 12 years with 200 million subscribers, and they treat you no different than some hatred post from somebody who'd never posted before. Exact same treatment. It shouldn't be that way. J77ZZZ's contributed 25 Canadian dollars. Says, hey, Kerry, great info as always, and thank you. Well, thank you, Jays. I appreciate your contribution. I appreciate your support. I feel bad for not contributing. You don't have to feel bad for not contributing. You should feel bad if you've taken something for free that nobody asked you to take, and then you complained about it, like you went out of your way to insult somebody. That's where you should feel bad. The content should be free and available to anybody who wishes to have it. But because of the constant and ceaseless, relentless abuse from the people getting the free content, there may have to be a very minimal charge in order to remove that. Because the bottom line is, if somebody paid something and they didn't feel like they got their money's worth, they could always be refunded, and at the very least, they would have a right to complain. But somebody who voluntarily clicks on a video, consumes it, and then complains about it, that's offensive to a level I can't even put into words. It is profoundly ignorant, selfish, and entitled. And the only way I know to stop it is to incur some minimal fee. But like I said, the trolls only do it because it's free. And I know that for a fact because nobody who's ever paid has ever complained. The only complainers, the only ones, are the ones that get it for free. And that's true of service. I've helped people in real life for free and then endured their abuse. Never, ever have I had that from a paying customer. And if I did, I would simply refund their money and say, have a nice day. I hope you can find somebody else who can help you. We're obviously not a good fit for each other. I'm sorry this didn't work out. Are there really so much hate comments? Yes. Yes. If there is 0.1% of 20 million views that are complainers, how many complaints is that? With one guy who does all the work. He does the talent, he does the cameras, he does the editing, he does the lighting, he does the wiring and the configuration, he does the email correspondence, all of the YouTube page administration. One guy, it's me. There's no staff. There's no employees. If I don't do it, it doesn't get done. So how much of my day needs to be taken away from people I don't even know? They're complete strangers. They're people I didn't ask. I didn't make the video for them. If you enjoyed this video or any of my videos, then you are the intended audience. If you did not enjoy it, it wasn't made for you. So you have nothing to be offended about. People sometimes act as though I made a video for them and they didn't like it and they want a refund and they didn't get it. So they're going to make sure and warn everybody else about me. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. It is a severe arrogance of entitlement that exists on the internet, and the self-awareness or the lack thereof is nothing I've ever seen before in my life. And I will say that overall, the supportive comments far outnumber the negative ones, but there should be no negatives. Zero. There's no reason for it. There's no justification to insult or disparage something that you've consumed and taken that nobody asked you to do, nobody forced you to do it, and didn't cost you anything. But it occurs daily, multiple times daily. And that takes time away. I have to deal with it. I have to block people. I've got to remove comments every single day, multiple times a day. It is part of the administrative part of YouTube. A lot of channels can't be bothered, and so they end up with channels that are just a big mess of people spamming, advertising, arguing. Everybody's going to die. So there's a little bit of solace in my mind knowing that negative commenter will die one day. It sounds sick, but the reality is they can complain and moan all they want. They'll die just like everybody else. So it's a temporary problem. But during that little period between life and death, that little blink of an eye that they're here, forcing me to have to mute them and block them is an unnecessary addition to my life that I did not ask for, and I received no gain from. Luis says, wow, that escalated quickly. Just pointing out the facts. What if you put a filter where people cannot post negative comments? Yeah. I don't know how you do that. You can certainly put, there's already a filter looking for curse words or certain words that are known, but negative comments in general don't necessarily all say the same thing the same way. So, and then in doing so, you probably will automatically block good comments that happen to contain those words in a positive way. So using artificial intelligence for anything without supervision from a human being is always going to have consequences. One way or another, a human being's got to get involved. So why not? If a human being's got to be involved anyway, why not just do it? Why create a filter and have to monitor you're just creating more work for yourself when you've got to monitor the filter that you created and constantly tweak it and tune it. Take out words, add words, refine it, refine it, refine it. All it does is add more work. Gear from Norway says he checked his last phone bill and my 60-minute talk with you on your last live stream cost me $25. I assumed you called through Google Voice, something like that. I wouldn't have thought you paid for it. And Tim says, God bless you for doing this. It's stuff you might not even learn in college and you're doing it for free. Absolutely true, Tim. And like I said, most people do appreciate it. That's why I continue to do it. I assure you, if most people didn't, there'd be no point in me continuing. So I have no doubt that people who say nothing are appreciating the content. If they're watching and saying nothing, I assume the best. But when they're watching and leaving negative comments, stop watching. And you have nothing to contribute, then go away. And if you can do it better than me, what's stopping you? This is why I started my channel. I didn't like the content I was seeing. I didn't feel it was, it seemed like it was technical information for technical people, which seemed kind of redundant and stupid. And I wanted to make technical information for ordinary people. And that's what motivated me to start. It's not a challenge or a competition. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm just filling in a gap that I felt existed. And if you think you can do it better, if anybody out there doesn't like the content or thinks it should be done differently, I encourage you to show me how it's done. If you're not willing to do that, well, I think that says all we need to know about you. Would you do any more family-oriented videos? I don't know what that means. All my videos are family-oriented with few exceptions. Is there going to be a highlights or a concise compilation from this stream? Time permitting, that is my goal. I've put on the same shirt I was wearing in the UPS video, and to also tie that in with the kilowatt video, but we're looking at about 10 hours that needs to be sifted through to coherently be edited together just to discuss power consumption, what a UPS is, and try to make that that is actually my end game or my end goal. But I also have this system to finish. I've got the about 7 or 8 other post-production videos that have been filmed that are waiting in editing. And the more content I create, the deeper I get. And the more time I take to edit, the longer there is between videos. And the longer there is between videos, my income is immediately reduced significantly on YouTube. So there has to be a video released a minimum twice a day. Or if I don't release a video at least twice a day, I reduce my income, which is very little from YouTube, by basically 25% every week. So if 100% of income is 4 weeks of videos, missing 1 week, you're going to get 75. 2 weeks, you're going to get 50%. 3 weeks, you probably 3 weeks and beyond would be about 30%. So it's important that new content is posted, but editing takes a very long time, and without enough money to afford somebody to do it, I have to do everything myself. And I also have to maintain clients. When they call with a problem, I have to prioritize their needs, which is why I got a late start today as well. So it is a very delicate balance. Doing this because I enjoy doing it. It doesn't pay any bills. If anything, my other side of the business is what's financing this. But my hope is one day that will flip-flop. We'll see. What happened to the final video with your dad? The final video with my dad is still three more videos. They're just sitting and waiting. They have to be edited. One of the benefits and encouragements of doing this live is there's no editing, and I can always edit later. Like what we talked about, doing a compilation about the UPSs, the kilowatt power consumption, and piecing that all together as I would do it in a pre-recorded fashion. But in the meantime, there's still content. You should get an Amazon affiliate account. Yeah, all the links you see in my videos, going all the way back to day one, are all Amazon affiliate links for the US. Silent Scribe says, thank you for your expertise and humility. You're an excellent teacher. It's a very nice comment. Thank you. Mike says, I love your videos. I watch from Montreal. Well, thanks, Mike. If you were here in Michigan, I would give you a hand in getting this stuff done. Yeah, well, I will be in Michigan very soon. That's where I'm going on vacation. And I'll try and film some stuff that I can use later for the channel while I'm there. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but as far as videos go, I'm primarily there to just chill out, relax, and unwind. Where I'm going, I don't know if there will be Wi-Fi. If there is, I'll use it, and if there isn't, I won't miss it. Either way, I'm good. So I will be gone. I don't want you to think anything's happened. Like I said, I'm going to try and get a couple of videos edited and chambered so that they're ready to fire off while I'm away. But while I'm away, I will not be doing any editing. I will not be doing any live videos, but maybe pre-record some intros or some tie-ins to things for future videos that I can use as video assets in the future. Just kind of depends on what ideas strike me. Nothing is planned. Does a thumbs up do anything for your channel? Basically, all a thumbs up does is it tells a creator that you like this kind of content and you want to see more of this kind of content. If you don't like the content, you don't leave a nasty comment, you use the thumbs down button. And the truth is that if you thumbs down somebody to punish them, you're actually helping them. YouTube's algorithms don't favor videos with a whole bunch of thumbs up or a whole bunch of thumbs down. YouTube algorithms like controversy. So if there's about a 50-50 split of thumbs up and thumbs down, your video will appear higher in search results because people who are motivated by reacting to something they feel strongly about are more likely to stay tuned for longer and participate more, which means more money for YouTube. So it doesn't necessarily work instinctively the way you think it might. You have to think like a corporate greedy person who's looking to squeeze every penny and exploit human psychology to the maximum. That's what YouTube does. So if you see a video that's got 1,000 thumbs up and 900 thumbs down, there's a reason why you're seeing that video above other videos that are liked more. YouTube likes that. And YouTube's not alone with that. This is sort of an internet mentality, and it's sort of like being on page 2 of a Google search. If you wanted to hide something, hide it on anywhere after page 1, because nobody looks out. Very few people ever look beyond page 1 of Google search results. So think about that. It's really not up to Google to fix that. It's up to you to change your psychology and realize there are other search results. Google will list, it'll list oftentimes at the end of a search result 10 plus pages of results. Very few people go beyond page 1. And if you're on a cell phone, you probably won't even go beyond what's right on your screen without moving it. Google knows this, and they manipulate the results and exploit that. But you shouldn't be mad at Google about that. You should be mad at yourself. You know better. What good stuff is waiting on page 2 and 3? You'll never know. Whose fault is that? It's not Google's fault. They're just taking advantage of you. Remember, Google owns YouTube. Google owns the Android operating system. They know a lot about psychology and how people behave. And they use it to make every penny they can. So all you can do is be aware of it and change your behavior. Don't be mad at Google about it. Jacob says, Kerry, I follow a couple of well-known techs with YouTube channels, and you know what? I decided to follow your tech decisions about building PCs and the info you feed us with. It has helped me so much. Is your wife still using the Intel NUC? Yes, she is. It's working great. Please don't come into my channel asking people how you should spend your money. I don't know why people on the internet would ask a complete stranger, where should I take my hard-earned money and spend it? You should be smart enough by now to know how to use Google and read reviews, know how you're going to use that part, under what circumstances, go to forums where other people are using it for that purpose and see what they're saying, and make a decision for yourself. I can't encourage that more. People on the internet will mess with you, and you won't even know you're being messed with, but it's your money and they don't care. They think it's funny. There's an old expression, the word gullible is not in the dictionary. And if you believe that, a lot of people think that's really funny. All right, guys, we're going to about wrap it up here. Once again, any last questions, technical questions, certainly welcome to ask. Am I driving or flying to Michigan? I drove to Michigan in 2011 and in 2012. And after being in the car for 9 days straight, my wife was ready to strangle me. She had too much carry. Carrie had too much carry. So we'll be flying and renting a car. Be spending most of my time in northern Michigan, Mackinac Island, Traverse City, that whole area, Leelanau County, Peninsula rather. My wife's never been there before, and I want to share that with her. Weather should be great, and get me out of Phoenix for a little while. Back to a culture where I feel at home. Mad Style says, hello from Poland. Well, hi, Mad Style. Kerry, it's not fair that we can't donate from certain countries. The $ button is great. I do ask that if you want to contribute, please use the donate button at tech-vets.com, and that works everywhere around the world where PayPal is in service. If you contribute using the little $ in the super chat, YouTube will take 30% of that money and make me wait up to 60 days before I'll see it. If you use PayPal to make the donation through the TechVets site, I will see the money instantly and I will have a record of it. With YouTube, I don't even get a record of it. There's no way for me to properly thank you. You don't get my email address. And I think people who contribute, those are the people I will make the time for and answer their questions. It's the people who take and take and take and then start demanding that I answer their questions. And when I say, I'm sorry, I don't have time, they say I'm a jerk. Tech-vets.com, you'll see a donate button in the upper right corner. And you'll always get a response from me. I'll say thank you for your contribution. At the very least, if it's a large contribution, I'll probably express even more gratitude and ask if there's anything I can do for you. But regardless of that, the fact that you're a contributor, it just means the world to me. And of course, when you then want to ask me a question after you've given something, more than happy to give back. But the people who just take and take and take, yeah, not so much. Al says, have a great time on your trip. Well, thanks, Al. I intend to. Have you ever considered moving back to your original state? You seem quite discontent in Arizona. I'm very discontent in Arizona. Unfortunately, or fortunately, you know, I've established a residence and a business. And until I retire, or I make twice as much money to buy 2 homes and maintain 2 homes, which doesn't seem likely, not on YouTube salary, it can only be a place I can visit for now. But eventually it is my goal to get back there. I mean, I can make YouTube videos from anywhere in the world. I don't have to stay in Arizona. But many of you forget, I'm a computer technician. I'm hired and maintain businesses that count on me and rely on me and have done so for well over a decade. One of my longest customers is almost 2 decades. I've been in the business 27 years, and that 27 years has all been in Arizona, that this experience and reputation has been developed in the community. So I would be giving up an awful lot. If at the point that I say, look, let's say I lost all my customers, let's say they all just left me, they went out of business, or they sold the companies, or they didn't like me anymore, and then all I had for income was YouTube, I could consider selling this place and moving. However, there's other family issues that would keep me back in Arizona until or if something were to happen that would change that. So by the time I reach the level of what would be considered retirement, that would be probably when I would go back to Michigan. But I would still continue to make YouTube videos, you know, regardless, because I enjoy doing it. When Thready shut off, was it just like hitting the power button? Yeah, it was a proper, it didn't just randomly shut down, it actually went through a proper power cycle. That's what the USB cable's for. If I didn't have the USB cable attached and Thready was left running, then when the battery died, Thready would just shut off. There'd be no point in having the UPS. It would defeat the purpose. When will you use the green screen again? I have no idea. Whenever it's relevant, or whenever it's needed. Not quite sure how to answer that. Enjoy your vacation to the fullest. They don't come by often, you deserve it, like 5 years ago. Thanks, Jacob. I've had little vacations. I've had little weekend getaway things, but nothing for this many days in a row. It's a little scary because every time I take a vacation, my phone rings off the hook from customers needing me. I've often said that the worst time to take a vacation is when there's no money coming in from the business. And yet, when I save up the money to take the vacation, that's what generates all the business. I don't know why, I can't explain it. I often will not tell my customers I'm going away. It's just Murphy's Law, it just happens that way. So I've got this theory that when business gets slow and I'm broke, I should just finance a vacation on the credit card, because it's like putting a big advertisement in the newspaper. Somehow the customers need me and the phone rings off. It's the weirdest thing, and it's consistent. It happens over and over and over again. When do you plan on doing another drunk tech support stream again? Maybe another 10 months. I don't know. Any advice on building a gaming server tower? Do your research. Until I found you, I did not even think of building my own computer, and now I built 4 for me and my family. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Stop off in Milwaukee. Taz and I will take you out to dinner. I would love to, but I will be nowhere near Minnesota, or I'm sorry, Wisconsin. I won't be anywhere near Wisconsin. That'll be a good 8-hour drive from where I'll be. And if I was wanting to drive, if anything, I owe Taz dinner. Taz took both me and Mike Smith out to a very, very nice Chicago steakhouse. Well, I suppose Taz's brother paid for it, didn't he? Maybe I owe Taz's brother dinner now that I think about it. I'll never forget it. It was first time really experiencing that part of Chicago. It was good food, it was good company. The price certainly made it more attractive. Great window seat, beautiful views. It was a really good time, really good time. Have you been to Oklahoma City? Yes, I think if you search my YouTube videos, you'll see I've done a number of presentations for the Oklahoma City Computer Club. Though it's been a while, but I've done at least 3 of them. Have you ever been to New Jersey? Yes, I've been to New Jersey, where you can't pump your own gas. Yeah, I've been there. So I used to live in Michigan, and my family, when I was a kid, we would take road trips east. So everything east and south of Michigan, so Ohio, Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, New York, New Jersey. I've been to all those places time and time and time again, sitting in the back of an Olds 88. Before there were Walkmans or computers or video games, we were filling out Mad Libs and doing word jumbles to occupy our time, sitting bored out of our mind for hours on end. No cell phones. It was pure torture. Aloha from Montana. I have been to Montana, but just on the other side of Yellowstone National Park. I had to go there's a pizza place, or there used to be, just on the opposite side of Yellowstone Park that goes into Montana, just so I could say I've been to Montana. But I don't really think it counts. Have you ever been to Europe? I have only, outside of the United States, I've been to Mexico, Canada, and the Caribbean islands. So Anguilla, Nassau, Puerto Rico. Other than that, no. So I've not even been close to, the closest I've been to Europe was the British West Indies, the island of Anguilla. And that was only because I had won a contest, believe it or not. Never won a contest before. And had a beautiful, beautiful room on the beach at the Cuisinart Resort. It's like $1,000 a night. It's nice. It was all paid for by, I think A&E Television, I think, paid for it. I see you've been to Oregon a few times. That's where I live. Yes, I've been to Oregon a number of times. I was just there in 2013. When I bought the Mustang, my wife and I decided the best way to break it in would be to go to San Francisco and just take the 101 straight up into Coos Bay and continue up over into Portland, and then take the 5 back down through Mount Shasta, back down through California, back home again. That was actually a lot further than I thought it would be. And I made my wife walk to the top of Multnomah Falls. She got about, 2 switchbacks in. I mean, just barely got started, and said, you know what, this is really hard. And you've already been there before, so I don't need to see it. And I said, you know what, you do need to see it. And we're in no hurry, and you can sit down and rest. We're going to the top. We didn't come all this way to not make it to the top, but it's not a race. And if you're tired, we'll find a bench and we'll sit down, but we're gonna go to the top. And we did. And she was glad she did. It's gorgeous. Is it possible to clone a 500 gig drive to a 250 gig using Acronis? Yeah, as long as it has less than 250 gig, you can watch any of my Acronis cloning or laptop hard drive replacement videos. I discuss this. I answer that question specifically, and I even demonstrate it in the video. And those videos are there for you, so you don't have to ask that question. It's already been asked and answered in full detail with step-by-step process of how to do it. I have been to all 50 states. It is a must. I disagree. There's plenty of great things to see in the United States, but I don't think it's necessary to see them all. That's just my opinion. Some of the states, there's just nothing to do. There's not a whole lot to do in Indiana or Mississippi or Alabama. There's just, for me anyway. And there's a whole part of the Northeast. The Northeast. I've never been to New England, that whole area. I've never been to New Hampshire or Vermont or Connecticut or Rhode Island. I've never been there. Very much would like to see that. If you like the Caribbean, you should come to Greece. Yeah, I bet. I bet. Greece and Italy, and the islands of Italy and the islands of Greece. Sure. Ben says his next trip, he wants to go to Hawaii. Well, you can enjoy Hawaii without me. I prefer to stay away from crowds and high prices. And Hawaii is always expensive and it's always crowded. There's no good time of the year, in my opinion, to go to Hawaii. But to each their own, it's the beauty of it. My happiest place will be somewhere where the next human being is very far away. More of a Bear Grylls kind of guy. Just drop me off in the middle of nowhere. I'll figure it out. And I'll be very happy doing it. Ben says, but what about the beaches? Yeah, after you almost drown in the ocean, you may not see it quite as idyllic. The ocean is a very dangerous place, and it's great to look at it. It can be seen as beautiful, but when it damn near takes your life, you realize how insignificant you are compared to the power of that ocean. And it demands respect. Ask anybody who lives in Florida who's ever lived through a hurricane. Do you recommend using software or hardware to control fan speed? Motherboards, if the fans are plugged in directly into your motherboard, let your motherboard BIOS control it. In my opinion, that's the best thing you can do. Yeah, but Bear Grylls likes a hotel nearby. I bet he does. Alan wants to know if I'm like him and drink strictly Coca-Cola and Coke family products, or do you roam onto the dark side of Pepsi? I'll have Pepsi if that's what the restaurant offers. I think Pepsi's slogan should be, it's what you drink when they don't serve Coke. But I like Mountain Dew, which is a Pepsi product. And I don't just like a product because of who makes it. I like a product because I like it. Who makes it is irrelevant to me. Coke can call something Diet Coke or Coke Zero with the taste of Coke. It doesn't taste like Coke. I don't care how much they say it does. It doesn't. Coke Life is all natural taste. It doesn't. I used to like 7-Up until they went to this all natural ingredients and it tastes the same. It doesn't taste the same. I now prefer Sprite. I used to not be able to tell the difference between Sprite and 7-Up. Now 7-Up tastes like flavored water and Sprite still tastes like Sprite. Sometimes I enjoy Squirt. Squirt is good to follow up with tequila. Take a shot of tequila and drink a Squirt. And then, of course, if you're from Michigan, you have a certain loyalty to certain Michigan brands like Verner's and Faygo. Dan says, hello from Scottsdale, Arizona. Hi, Dan. Mike BZD says, Carrie, long-time viewer, I appreciate what you do. Been building and repairing computers for quite a while, yet I still learn tips from you. By the way, Hawaii's nice but expensive. Thanks, Mike. Seems like Coca-Cola is your drink of choice. Lately, it's mostly been bottled water. My favorite bottled water is Fiji, but it's expensive, so it's a little treat to myself from time and again. And I normally drink Arrowhead bottled water because I get it at Costco. What I don't like is people who think all bottled water is the same. It's not. There's purified water, there's spring water, there's sparkling water, there's about 5 different kinds of bottled water. And when somebody says, would you like a bottle of water? And what they've got is purified water. All that is tap water run through a filter. Literally the same water that's in your toilet. So, no, I'd rather go thirsty. It's not going to kill you, it just doesn't taste good to me. It's got a lot of minerals and things in it. Dasani, which is a Coke product, tastes terrible in my opinion. It's a filtered water that they've added sodium to, and it just doesn't, the texture of it, it's slimy. I don't know, it's just disgusting to me. So I don't care if Coca-Cola makes it, it's disgusting. It's got to be real spring water. I had my very first bottle of Evian, which of course is naive, spelled backwards, but that's French spring water. Didn't really taste any better than Arrowhead. But I've found nothing that tastes as good to my palate as Fiji. And I guarantee you I can take a blind taste test and I can tell you which is which. Fiji contains silica, which removes aluminum from your brain tissue, if you say so. I eat silica gel on the side, so. Gear's saying good night, Gear. Thanks for joining us today. Arizona tap water is indeed awful. I was introduced to Fiji by my mother, Greatwater. I like Arrowhead too. Yeah, a lot of people are surprised how good New York City's water is just out of the tap. New York's got some of the best water. Probably if I lived in New York, I would drink tap water. But in Arizona, water here is very, very hard. I think what amuses me is how many times people will tell me that's processed or that's not good for you. The concept of eating because it's good for you is something that never has impacted my life. It's nothing I consider. I eat because it brings me joy. It brings me happiness and pleasure. Same reason people smoke cigarettes. You know those are going to kill you, right? Oh, I better put these down then. Winfield says, I live in Western New York and I only use tap water. Yeah, I believe you can there and it'd be great. Do you do your own maintenance on your car? Well, that's what I got Subaru Mike for. I used to. Now I hold the camera and have Mike do it for me while I film it. Alan Bedgood says, amen on doing what makes you happy. We're all going to die eventually. Might as well enjoy life. Exactly. Can you imagine dying of nothing? How embarrassing would that be? Toronto tap water tastes fine to me. Yeah, last time I was in Toronto was in 1979, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Dying of old age is my goal. Everybody will die of old age. It'll be the oldest age you reached before you died. Tom Vlog says, I prefer the live streams much more than a video. The idea behind the live streams really is to have this interaction. When I'm doing regular videos, they're certainly going to have a lot more professionalism to them. They can get more to the point and be condensed, but it's also one way, just like television. The whole concept of the internet, and specifically of YouTube, to me is missed when the audience isn't involved. You know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you want to start your own YouTube channel, or you simply want to contribute and share the enthusiasm and enjoyment and accomplishment that you got from building your own system, and you want to make a video about it, either of the process, of your misunderstandings, of what was easier than you thought it would be or harder, I will play your video here on my channel. Ask any other tech channel to do that for you. Any other tech channel. Who's going to do that? They don't want to do that. They don't want to share their spotlight with you. It's not about you, it's about them. I'm trying to create a community here. I'm more than happy to share your content as long as, one, you give me permission, and two, it's on par with what we do here. Who else is going to do that? And why is that so rare? Why is it that these people that have these big audiences won't share that with the very audience that made them? I don't get it. I guess they just like to keep you in your place. That's not my goal here. My goal here is really get the community involved. And that's really what the live streams do, where I can interact with you. And when I build my platform and you want to build your platform, you go, look, I want to make a YouTube channel where I build computers, or I do gaming videos, but nobody knows I exist. Could I make a video and give it to you, and then you could show it, and I can promote my channel on it? Of course I would. But go ask those other guys, you know who I'm talking about. Go ask them if they'll do that for you. Let me know if you get a response. Mike says, I followed you for a while and I put an SSD in my laptop, assumingly based on my suggestion and instructions on how to do that. Says it's the best thing I've ever done. What is life to you, Carrie? You seem so positive and humble every day. I guess we're going to talk about philosophy. Let's take a minute. Because this is a topic that's very important to me. Let's first of all, let me get my video view here, right? Okay. Still not right. Not right. Hold on. Let me make sure I get this right. Why are you here? Why are you a living, breathing creature on this planet at this time? I'm not asking you to find the answer in religion. I'm not asking you to find the answer from any place else than for you to decide, why am I here? Think about why you're here. Whether or not you matter is up to you. Whether or not you contribute is up to you. Whether or not you party and get high and consume the planet's resources until you die, and nobody ever knows you were here, nobody misses you when you're gone, the world is not better or worse because you did not contribute. Why are you here? It's only something you can answer, and it may take some people a long time to figure it out. But I figured out, as far as I'm concerned, the reason I'm here is to help other people to the level that I can. I can't help everybody with everything. And that often involves sharing. It involves a sense of empathy, that when somebody is thrilled and happy because I have helped them or I've given them a gift, I feel as though they've given me a gift when they smile or they laugh. That's me. Someone else may feel like they're put here to make as much money as possible and die, and then I don't know what happens to the money, so I don't get what the end game is with that. But whatever it is, there's a lot of aimless people who feel unworthy, or they feel they're not as good as everybody else, or not as deserving as anybody else. And that's all on you, brother. Nobody, unless you're a child, if you're 18 years old or older, it is no more blaming anybody for your situation. Whatever your situation is, deal with it. Find a way to make it work for you. It's the only way I can explain it. And if your goal in life is to gather, take, and die, who cares when you die? Maybe it doesn't matter to you. There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason why you're here. And it's up to you to find it. It doesn't matter if you're better than anybody else, taller, shorter, meaner, or nicer. Having a good day, having a bad day is all irrelevant. Why are you here? I think when you answer that question, you better understand where I'm coming from. But remember, no matter how tall you are, there's somebody taller. No matter how short you are, there's somebody shorter. No matter how sick you are, there's somebody sicker. No matter how smart you are, there's somebody smarter. I think I said that. Somebody stronger, somebody weaker. Who cares? Everything doesn't have to be a competition. Think about what impacts you on the people that you admire. Are the people you admire the people who take advantage of others? Or are the people you admire the people who have helped you or done something for you or have done something for people you care about? Wouldn't you want to be like those people you admire? What makes them different than you? Do they not have, do they have special powers? Do they come from another planet? Do they not breathe air? Do they not bleed? It's all in here. And the only one that controls what's in here is you, and you have to make up your mind. Nobody else can do it. Once you do that, and don't expect to just make it up one day. It's just you just decide and you work towards that goal each and every day, each and every day, each and every day. That's all you can do. You'll make mistakes. It's what you do. You're a human being. You're going to be wrong. Admit when you're wrong. It's fine. Pride and ego. Nobody remembers your pride and ego when you're dead. Unless they were excessively offensive or inappropriate, nobody cares. So think about what you care about, what you like about somebody else, and what you don't like about somebody else. What about when you think about you, what about you relates or reminds you of the person you admire, and what about what you do reminds you of the person you don't like? Become self-aware of that and work towards that goal. And you just work at it and work at it and work at it, and that's you decide what your purpose is and you drive towards it. It's really no more complicated than that. You're never going to do something perfectly the first time you do it, and be reasonable. It's more important that you tried with the best of intent than if you failed or succeeded. That's irrelevant. So that's my view on that. Hope I cleared that up. You decide. Nobody else decides. I've had people say, man, I feel better about my life knowing you've had your disability, but you enjoy life and you always have a smile on your face. Yeah, well, take what you can get. I am here to serve, not be served. I'm with you. I'm very uncomfortable with somebody doing things for me that I can do. I'm very uncomfortable with that. Somebody once asked me, I remember, I was in another state. Doesn't matter. And I was in the parents' house of a girl I was dating, and I just didn't touch anything. And dinner was over. I didn't help clear the table. I didn't help wash the dishes. And the conversation I had with the girl's mother the next day was that I was one of the rudest people she'd ever met, because I did not help clear the table and I did not help do the dishes. And I said, I was staying out of the way. I don't live here. I don't know where the dishes go. I don't know how you wash them, if you have a dishwasher, if they go in a certain way. And when the dishes are clean, I don't know what counter or drawer they go in. So I didn't want to be an obstacle. And I thought if you wanted help, you would ask. And she said, I shouldn't have to ask. And I said, I said, you wouldn't take 2 seconds to ask, could you give me a hand, but you'll take 10 minutes to complain about it. And she reached her hand up like she was going to slap me, and I kind of flinched. And I said, look, I'm in a stranger's house, bored out of my mind. I would have loved to have done the dishes and cleared the table. It would have given me something to do, but out of respect, I kept to myself. And if you would have just taken 2 seconds and said, would you mind giving me a hand, I would have jumped at the opportunity. So this is how easily people can misinterpret each other's actions and create enemies out of nothing. And it amuses me that somebody will complain for 10 minutes because they think somebody should behave a certain way without vocalizing it, like you're just supposed to know. Well, yes, if you raised me and you taught me that, but I wasn't raised by you. I was raised by my mom, and she told me to respect other people's stuff and don't touch stuff that doesn't belong to you. That doesn't make me a bad person. Needless to say, that relationship didn't work out very well. But regardless of that, be aware that sometimes the best of intentions can be misinterpreted, and try to think what it's like to be, try and think, okay, how did they get there? Let me think about this. Don't immediately jump to the defensive situation. Just go, how did they get to that? I never thought of that before. That's an interesting way. You see, every front has a back. Every coin has another side. It doesn't make anybody necessarily right or wrong. It's just they're looking at it from this way and you're looking at it from this way. And it's a wall between you, and you're both looking at the opposite sides of the same wall. So it is very easy with practice to just take a minute before you respond to understand how somebody got there, or ask them how they got there. If you can't comprehend, ask them, how did you, and don't be sarcastic, just be sincere. I don't get it. What, I must be missing something. I think people like to be understood. You don't necessarily have to agree with them, although people do like it when you agree with them. And sometimes it's easier just to agree with somebody. Whether you actually do or you don't is irrelevant. If you're in an unpleasant conversation, just nod your head and agree. Even if you're vehemently opposed to what they're saying, just go, oh, yep, okay, yep, I agree. Yep, oh yeah, it's a terrible person. Sure, okay. Conversation will end pretty quick. That's why YouTube likes controversy. It creates much more interaction, which means more money for the platform. So it's kind of the same thing. If you want a long, drawn-out conversation, be sure and debate about politics, religion, or how to raise kids. You'll have it, and it'll probably be unpleasant. If you want to have a pleasant conversation, agree with whatever they're saying, whether you do or you don't. Just say you do, and then change the subject to let people talk about themselves. Like, hey, that's a really nice shirt. Where'd you get that? Let them do the talking. People like to be heard. Be gracious enough and ask yourself, maybe this is why I'm here. Maybe I'm here to just take a minute and ask people questions of answers that I really have no interest in, but I know it makes people feel good to give those answers to me. Although I don't need them and I don't want them, I like the way it feels. It's valid. No one will know. And think about that the next time somebody asks you something about you. Hey, nice shoes, where'd you get those? Are they sincere? Or are they just kind of feeling good about how you seem to beam with pride talking about whatever it is you're talking about that you own? What a cute dog. Whatever it is, great looking kids. They'll tell you about their kids all day. And they'll be so glad you asked. And if you have empathy, you can feel that joy and happiness from the other person. And it's much more pleasant than arguing. I'm simply a believer of free will. That's it. That's just my belief. You can believe whatever you want. It makes no difference to me. I believe in free will. But at a certain point, if you're like me and you give enough of the societal games, the goal is to get away from people. People, for the most part, cause me the most unhappiness in my life. Where I get my most joy is through nature, peace and harmony. And the fewer people there are surrounding me or around me, the more peace and harmony I feel. Now, somebody might say, well, if you have a heart attack and nobody's there to help you, you'll die. I'm okay with that. I would rather live a short, happy life than a long and miserable one. So I am okay with that. I would rather be mauled to death by a bear in nature than degraded and humiliated and insulted ceaselessly, relentlessly throughout the remainder of my years. Life's too short. Somebody needs to find another way to be happy than by making other people feel bad. Carrie, would you say an SSD is the most significant upgrade can be done to a PC that has a regular hard drive? Yes. Yes, I've said that. I've said those very words. Patrick says, cabin by the lake with a T1 line and I'll be very happy. That's what I say. Give me a real log cabin in the woods, meaning, you know, trees and squirrels and nature, on a minimum of 1 acre of land, and preferably more, but an absolute minimum of 1 acre. It'd be nice if there was a river or a lake in the backyard, and some Wi-Fi. Is that too much to ask? That's actually where I'll be in Michigan. I just don't know if there'll be Wi-Fi, but I don't care. If there is, I'll use it. If there isn't, I won't miss it. And Walker's chips. Hey, that's what the post office is for. David Davis says he's alone in British Columbia in a log cabin. Must be nice. Marvin says, I'm enjoying your videos from Milwaukee. Very nice. Tell Laverne and Shirley I said hello. Was that a dated reference? I think it was. Carrie, use your hotspot on your cell phone for Wi-Fi. Whether or not I have cell service, I don't know, and whether or not there'll be data cell service, I don't know. Whether or not there'll be Wi-Fi, I don't know. So there's a lot of I don't knows, and I don't care. What's available is what I'll have, and I'll make do with what I have, just like my attitude towards life. I'm going to tell you one other perspective on life that really, really bothers me. I don't like it when somebody says I love you and they expect to hear I love you too. Don't be that guy. That's not what love is. When I love somebody, it doesn't matter if they love me back. It has nothing to do with that. It's completely irrelevant. Think about that. I hate that. I hate that so much. I love you too. It's like a ping pong game. It's like a tennis match. I did my part, now you do your part. And if you don't do your part, I'm going to get mad at you. That is selfish, and it is a lie to say I love you only if you love me back. No, 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 no. That's not love. If you're expecting something back after you say I love you, in my opinion, that's not love. That's you looking to get something. JP Chris says, listening from South Korea. Hello, Carrie. Wow, I don't think we've had anybody from South Korea in here in a long, long time. I had a conversation with my wife once, and I said, I love you. And she said, I don't believe you. And I said, it doesn't matter if you believe me. It's irrelevant. You may not believe the earth is round. You may not believe there's stars in the sky. Doesn't change. What you believe doesn't change the reality. So, for people that expect to hear I love you too after they say I love you, it upsets me every time I see a TV or a movie and the girl's like, I told him I loved him, but he didn't say I love you back, so I guess I better dump him. And that's the message that culture gets. That's wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Wrong, so wrong. Bodami says, whenever someone does something just because they expect something back, it's not genuine at all. Agreed. Sometimes the thing you get back is the opportunity to do it. That's it. To be honest, the conversation with my wife sort of went, I love you. Well, I don't believe you. And I said, I don't give an F what you believe. That is literally what I said, only I used the full word. I was pissed. I mean, it's like, I didn't ask you what you believe. It doesn't change anything. You may not believe the sky is blue. I don't care. Whether or not you believe me, what's that got to do with it? I know what I feel. Reverend John O'Toole says, I love your videos. Do you love my videos? Yeah, it's kind of like that. Stephen Barber says, I love the drunk tech support with your sister. I was laughing my butt off. Thanks, Stephen. And Chad says, hello. Hi, Chad. I told Lyle and Jimmy I love them. They've never said it back to me. Doesn't matter. Right? Woof. We have somebody in the chat with a foreign language name that I have no idea how to pronounce that says hello from Saudi Arabia. Oh, look. He knows I was talking about him, don't you? You know I was talking about you. Did you know I was talking about you? Are you a good boy? Are you only going to give me your paw if I give you a treat? Or will you just give it to me because I asked for it? Will you give me your paw? Hey, can I have a paw? Just because? Good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah. Smack you on the head. Rub your face. Oh, he likes it. Smack the butt. Smack the butt. Yeah. What time is it? Oh, it's past their dinner time. Well, they let me know. Is it time for dinner? Apparently, it's time for dinner. They're like, you're late. We're dying over here. All right, guys. The dogs have made it clear. It is past their dinner time. So I gotta let you guys go. Thanks for watching, and I will try and get another video up tomorrow about the same time, maybe a little earlier. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Thanks for, if you subscribe, thank you for subscribing. If you're participating in the chat, thanks for that as well. For people who financially contributed, thank you. For people who share my videos, thank you. For people who are rude, get lost. And for everybody else, I'll see you again very, very soon. Until then, bye-bye.